Okay, so you know how sometimes when you're trying to learn English, it can feel a little bit like, oh gosh, how am I ever gonna really get this,
Yeah, definitely.
But then you think about it and you're like, well, but once I do get it, the possibilities are just endless, right?
It is a journey.
And that's what we're talking about today.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking all about active listening and how it can be such a powerful tool.
It is one of the most powerful tools in your tool belt, for sure.
And we're calling this a deep dive because we really want to help you understand how you can use active listening to improve your fluency. Really pick up on those cultural insights you won't find in textbooks and just become a more confident communicator in English.
Yeah, because just like you were saying, it can feel like a huge mountain to climb sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
When you're starting out.
Yeah.
But if you've got the right tools and the right strategies, it becomes so much easier.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
What exactly do we mean when we say active listening?
So, you know how your ears are kind of like always open, right? They're just taking in sounds all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, passive hearing is just kind of letting those sounds wash over you without really paying attention,
Oh, yeah, just sort of in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But active listening is totally different. It's like you're consciously choosing to focus on those sounds.
Like turning up the volume in your brain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You're paying attention to the words, the tone, the emotions behind them. You're really trying to understand the meaning.
Okay, so it's like being at a party, right? And there are tons of conversations going on around you, but you choose to zero in on one specific conversation.
Exactly. And not only that, but you're really invested in that conversation. You want to know what they're talking about. You want to understand their perspective.
So it's not just about hearing, it's about engaging with what you're hearing.
Right. And that engagement makes a world of difference, especially when you're learning English.
I can imagine. Why is active listening so important specifically for English language learners?
Well, think about this. English isn't just one language, There are so many different accents and dialects out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like if you hear someone from Australia speak English, it's going to sound different from someone from the U.S.
Totally. And then there are all the regional accents within those countries, too.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So active listening helps you become more attuned to those different ways of speaking.
So it's like training your ear to be more flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can understand English no matter who's speaking it.
That makes sense. So improved comprehension, that's one major benefit, right?
Definitely. And it's not just about understanding individual words either. It's about understanding the meaning behind those words, even when you don't know every single word.
So it's like reading between the lines.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is that active listening helps you build your vocabulary naturally.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, think about it. When you're actively listening to English, you're constantly being exposed to new words and phrases in context.
It's like immersing yourself in the language, right?
Exactly. It's so much more effective than just memorizing words from a vocabulary list.
So you're not just learning the definition, you're learning how to actually use the word in real-life situations.
Right, and that makes it so much more likely that you'll actually remember the word and be able to use it yourself.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we've got improved comprehension, we've got vocabulary building. What else?
Well, active listening also helps with pronunciation.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, by listening closely to how native speakers pronounce words, you start to pick up on the subtle nuances of their speech,
Like the rhythm and the intonation.
Exactly. And the more you listen, the more your brain starts to internalize those patterns.
So it's like you're training your mouth to move in the same way.
Right. And the cool thing is that this happens almost unconsciously.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
It's like your brain is saying, okay, that's how it's supposed to sound. Let me try that.
So it's like having a built-in pronunciation coach.
Exactly. And as your pronunciation improves, what naturally follows is
song.
Exactly. When you can understand what people are saying and you can speak clearly yourself, you feel so much more confident in your English skills.
Yeah, that fear of making mistakes starts to melt away.
Exactly. And that opens up so many possibilities,
Yeah.
You're more likely to participate in conversations. You're more likely to try new things.
And it's not just about the practical aspects of communication either, right? There's a deeper level to it.
Absolutely. Language is such a powerful tool for connecting with other people and understanding different cultures.
It's like a window into another world.
And active listening helps you to really appreciate those cultural nuances.
So it's not just about what people are saying, it's about how they're saying it.
Right. You start to pick up on the humor, the slang, the little things that make each culture unique.
So active listening is really about so much more than just understanding words on a page. It's about connecting with people on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it's one of the most rewarding aspects of language learning.
Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing benefits of active listening, but I'm sure there are some challenges too, especially for English learners.
So for sure, there are definitely some hurdles along the way.
Like what?
One of the biggest challenges is the speed of native speech.
Oh yeah, sometimes it feels like they're speaking a million miles a minute.
Right. And they tend to blend words together, which can make it even harder to understand.
Okay, so give me an example.
So like if someone says, "What are you doing?" in casual conversation, it might sound more like, "What you're doing."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Right. So it takes some practice to train your ear to pick up on those blended sounds.
And then there's the whole issue of accents and dialects.
Oh yeah, that can be a big one.
Like you were saying before, English is spoken all over the world, and each region has its own unique way of pronouncing words.
Exactly. And some accents are more difficult to understand than others.
So what are some examples of accents that English learners might find tricky?
Well, British English can be tough for some learners, especially if they're used to American English.
Yeah, even simple words like water can sound totally different.
Right. And then there are accents like Scottish or Irish, which can be really challenging at first.
And it's not just about the pronunciation either, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the grammar and vocabulary can be different too, depending on the region.
Exactly. So it's like you're learning multiple languages within one language.
Oh man, that's a lot to process.
It is, but it's also part of what makes English so interesting.
And it's a great reminder that you don't have to understand every single word to get the gist of what someone is saying.
Exactly. Context is key.
Okay, so we've got speed, we've got accents. What else makes active listening challenging?
Well, real-life conversations rarely happen in perfect silence, right?
Yeah, there's always some kind of background noise.
Exactly. Whether it's traffic or music or other people talking, it can all make it harder to focus on what you're trying to listen to.
So it's like trying to have a conversation at a rock concert?
Pretty much.
Huh.
And then, of course, there's the issue of limited vocabulary.
Oh yeah, if you don't know a word, it can really throw you off.
It's like hitting a brick wall. You're trying to figure out what that word means, and in the meantime, you've missed half the conversation.
And I imagine all of this can be pretty mentally exhausting.
Absolutely. Active listening is a real workout for your brain, especially when you're a beginner.
So it's important to be patient with yourself and not get discouraged if you feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. It takes time and practice to develop your active listening skills.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges. Now let's focus on solutions. What are some practical strategies that our listeners can use to improve their active listening skills?
Well, one of the best things you can do is to start with content that's appropriate for your level.
Okay, so don't try to run before you can walk.
Exactly. If you're a beginner, start with something simple, like children's cartoons or podcasts that are specifically designed for English learners.
Those are great because they usually speak at a slower pace and use simpler vocabulary.
Right. And as you get more comfortable, you can gradually move on to more challenging content.
Well,
TV shows are a great next step. Sitcoms are particularly good because they use a lot of everyday language.
oh yeah, and they're usually pretty funny, which makes it more enjoyable to watch.
And once you're feeling really confident, you can start watching movies, documentaries, news broadcasts, things like that.
So it's all about finding content that you enjoy and that challenges you just enough.
Exactly. And another great tip is to use subtitles.
Oh yeah, those can be really helpful, especially at first.
Right. You can start with subtitles in your native language and then gradually switch to English subtitles as you improve.
And eventually you might even be able to watch without any subtitles at all.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've got content, we've got subtitles. What else?
Another great strategy is to use the chunking method.
Okay, what's that?
So basically, you take a short piece of audio, like maybe 3 to 5 minutes long, and you listen to it multiple times with a different focus each time.
So it's like breaking it down into smaller pieces.
Exactly. On the first listen, you just try to get the general idea of what the audio is about. Then on the second listen, you focus on specific words or phrases that you want to learn.
And on the third listen,
You pay attention to things like pronunciation, intonation, and grammar.
so it's a way of really dissecting the audio and getting the most out of it.
Exactly. And it's a great way to train your ear to pick up on those subtle details.
And it's also less overwhelming than trying to understand a whole hour-long podcast in one go.
Right. It's about quality over quantity.
Okay, so chunking is another great strategy. What else can our listeners do?
Well, there's a technique called shadowing, which is super effective.
Okay, I've heard of that. Tell me more.
So basically, you listen to a piece of audio and you try to repeat it out loud at the same time as the speaker.
So you're like their shadow.
Exactly. You try to mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, everything.
So it's like a really active form of listening.
Right. You're not just passively taking in the information, you're actively engaging with it.
And it helps you to internalize those sounds and patterns.
Exactly. And it's also a great way to improve your speaking fluency.
So it's like killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another important strategy is to use context clues.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that before.
Right. So even if you don't know every single word, you can often figure out the meaning based on the surrounding words or the situation.
It's like being a detective.
It is. You're looking for clues to help you solve the mystery of the meaning.
And the more you practice this, the better you'll get at it.
Right. You'll start to develop an intuition for how English works.
So it's about training your brain to think in English.
Exactly. And another great way to improve your active listening skills is to diversify your sources.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, don't just stick to one type of content or one accent.
So like, don't just watch American TV shows.
Right. Try listening to podcasts from different countries, watch movies with different accents, listen to music from all over the world.
So you're exposing yourself to a wider range of English.
Exactly. And that will help you to become a more well-rounded listener.
And a more confident speaker too, I imagine.
Absolutely. The more you listen, the more you'll learn.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of great strategies for practicing active listening. But what about actually engaging in conversations? How can our listeners practice their listening skills in real time?
That's a great question. So first of all, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, it's okay to say, can you repeat that? Or I don't understand.
Exactly. It shows that you're engaged and that you're trying to learn.
And it's much better than just nodding along and pretending you understand.
Right. And another great tip is to paraphrase what you've heard.
So like summarizing what the other person said.
Exactly. It helps to make sure that you're on the same page. And it also gives you a chance to practice using your own words.
And it shows the other person that you're really listening.
Exactly. And if you don't have anyone to practice with, you can always talk to yourself.
Oh yeah, like narrate your day in English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might sound silly, but it's a great way to get comfortable with speaking and listening to yourself in English.
So it's all about finding opportunities to use the language as much as possible.
Right. And the more you practice, the more natural it will become.
Okay. And one last question about active listening. Should our listeners be taking notes while they're listening?
Yes, definitely. But be strategic about it. Don't try to write down everything you hear.
So just jot down the key points.
Exactly. Or any new words or phrases that you want to learn.
The main thing is to stay focused on the audio.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't let note-taking become a distraction.
Okay, so active listening is all about being present and engaged.
Exactly. And it's a skill that you can develop with time and practice.
So don't get discouraged if it feels challenging at first.
Just keep at it, and you'll see results.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of great strategies. Are there any specific tools or resources that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, there are tons of great resources out there.
Like what?
Well, for mobile apps, there's LingQ, which is great for listening to audio with transcripts.
So you can follow along and look up words as you go?
Exactly. And there's Audible, which is great for audiobooks.
And you can usually adjust the playback speed, which is helpful.
Right? And there's SpeechLink, which is specifically designed for practicing pronunciation and shadowing.
Cool. So those are some great apps. What about websites?
Well, the BBC has a great website called BBC Learning English, which has tons of free resources.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a really good one. And there's ESL Pod, which has a lot of podcasts for English learners.
And they often have transcripts too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's Lyrics Training, which is a fun way to learn English through music.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, you basically listen to songs and fill in the missing words.
So it's like karaoke for language learning.
Kind of.
Hmm.
And it's a great way to practice your listening skills and learn new vocabulary.
Cool. So those are some great online resources. And of course, there's always the option of just talking to people.
Oh, yeah. That's the best way to practice.
Whether it's a language partner, a teacher, or even just a friend who speaks English.
Right. Just get out there and use the language as much as possible.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Mistakes are part of the learning process.
Exactly. So embrace them.
And learn from them.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot of helpful strategies and resources. But even with all of that, it's inevitable that English learners will face some bumps in the road. So what are some common pitfalls to watch out for, and how can our listeners overcome them?
Well, one common pitfall is feeling overwhelmed, especially when you're first starting out.
Like there's just so much to learn and it feels impossible to keep up.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that you don't have to learn everything at once.
Just focus on one thing at a time.
Right. And don't be afraid to slow down the audio or use subtitles if you need to.
Yeah, there's no shame in that.
It's all about finding what works for you.
And another common pitfall is losing focus.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to get distracted, especially if you're listening to something that's not super interesting.
So what's the solution?
Well, try to find content that you genuinely enjoy.
Something that you're actually interested in.
Right. And if you do find yourself getting distracted, take a break or switch to a different activity.
Yeah, don't force yourself to listen if your brain is fried.
And another common pitfall is the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah, that can be a big one.
But it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're learning a new language.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
So don't let it hold you back.
Just keep practicing and you'll gradually get better.
And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Yeah, there are lots of people who are willing to support you on your language learning journey.
Exactly. So don't be shy.
Okay, so those are some great tips for overcoming common pitfalls. But how can our listeners know if their active listening skills are actually improving?
Well, one of the best indicators is if you find yourself understanding more English without having to translate it in your head.
So it's like you're starting to think in English.
Exactly. And you might also notice that you're able to follow conversations more easily, or that you can watch movies with fewer subtitles.
So it's a gradual process, but we'll definitely start to see progress if you keep practicing.
And another great way to measure your progress is to revisit old content.
Like a podcast or a TV show that you listened to a few months ago.
Right. If you find that you understand it much better now than you did before, that's a clear sign that your active listening skills are improving.
Awesome. So active listening really is a key ingredient for success in English language learning.
Absolutely. It's a skill that will benefit you in all aspects of your life.
So to wrap things up, what's our main takeaway for our listeners today?
I would say the main takeaway is this active listening is a powerful tool that can help you to improve your English skills in so many ways.
It's about more than just hearing words. It's about engaging with the language on a deeper level.
Exactly. And the best part is that it's something you can practice anywhere, anytime.
So start today, find some English content that you enjoy, and really listen to it with your full attention.
You'll be amazed at how much you can learn.
And how much more confident you'll become in your English skills.
And on that note, here's something to think about. You know how we're always surrounded by English these days?
Oh yeah, it's everywhere.
All right. Well, every time you hear someone speaking English, whether it's on TV or in a store or on the street, that's a potential learning opportunity.
So it's like the world is your classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So open your ears and start listening.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at how much you can learn just by paying attention.
That's a great reminder. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, keep practicing your active listening skills and keep learning.
And remember, have fun with it.
That's the most important part.
Absolutely. All right, welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into something pretty cool today, something that I think a lot of you are really going to find useful. We're talking about improving your English skills, and specifically a really effective way to do that by connecting how you listen to English with how you actually speak it.
Yeah, this is something that I've been really interested in lately too, this idea that listening and speaking, we often think of them as separate skills, but they really work best together. Like they boost each other.
Right, exactly. And we've got some great sources here that lay out why that is, the benefits, and even better, some practical steps on how you can actually do this yourself. So in this deep dive, let's try to break down how combining listening and speaking can really accelerate your progress towards, really confident natural English.
It's fascinating how much more effective language learning becomes when we approach it this way, as a kind of integrated process, rather than trying to isolate these skills.
So the main concept here, the big idea, is that listening and speaking are kind of intertwined, right? They're not just both involving language. It's more like they're constantly feeding back into each other in your brain.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like a feedback loop. If you think about it, just passively listening to English, you're exposed to the sounds, but you're not actually engaging your own ability to produce those sounds. And then on the other hand, if you try to speak without a good foundation in listening, you might struggle with pronunciation or have a limited vocabulary.
Right, exactly. It's like each skill supports the other.
Yeah.
And when you combine them, you get this kind of synergistic effect, right?
Absolutely. The sources we've looked at highlight some really compelling advantages to this approach, and they really resonate with what we know about how the brain learns.
Okay, so let's dig into those benefits. One that really jumps out is better pronunciation and accent. I mean, this one kind of makes intuitive sense, right? If you hear how native speakers are saying something and you actively try to imitate that, over time, it's got to help you refine your own pronunciation.
Yeah, it's more than just hearing it passively. It's the active effort to replicate those sounds that's key. By engaging the muscles you use for speech, you're fine-tuning your ability to perceive and produce those sounds accurately.
And then there's vocabulary retention. This one really hit home for me. The idea is that, you hear a new word used naturally in a conversation or something you're listening to, and then you try to use it yourself right away. It's like you're immediately putting that word to work, which helps it stick in your memory much better than just passively hearing it.
Yeah. That's right. Memory research really backs this up. Active recall, like when you use a word you've just learned, strengthens the memory trace for that word much more than passive recognition. So by speaking what you hear, you're not just practicing pronunciation, you're also actively consolidating those new words in your long-term memory.
And it's not just about vocabulary, right? It seems like listening comprehension itself gets a boost from actively speaking. It's like by making those English sounds yourself, your brain becomes more attuned to recognizing them when you hear them.
Yeah, there's this fascinating connection between our articulatory system, the muscles we use to speak, and our auditory system, which processes sound. By engaging the muscles involved in producing those English sounds, you're essentially priming your brain to recognize those same sounds more efficiently when you hear them.
It's almost like your mouth is teaching your ears how to listen better, which is pretty cool. And of course, there's the confidence factor. So many people struggle with that fear of making mistakes when they're speaking a new language, and it can be really paralyzing. But it seems like by practicing speaking right after you've listened to something, you're kind of easing yourself into it, getting more comfortable with those sounds before you have to use them in a high-pressure situation.
Exactly. It's like creating a safe space for practice where you can experiment and make mistakes without the fear of judgment. This gradual process of becoming more comfortable with the sounds of English can make those real-life conversations feel a lot less intimidating.
And ultimately, all of these benefits kind of point towards being more prepared for real-life English, right?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, most of the time, it's not just pure listening or pure speaking. It's this dynamic back and forth.
Yeah, it's this constant interplay between listening and speaking. So a method that actively trains you for that kind of interaction, it just makes sense. It aligns with how we actually use language in the real world.
All right, so now I'm sure you're thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I actually start doing this? Luckily, the sources we've been looking at provide a really clear 5-step guide. And the best part is, it's very accessible. You don't need any fancy equipment or software.
That's one of the things I really appreciate about this approach. It puts the power of language learning back in your hands, using resources that most people already have access to.
Okay, so step 1 is all about choosing the right listening material. And this is important, right? Because what's appropriate for a beginner is going to be very different from what's challenging and engaging for someone who's more advanced. The key is to match the audio to your level. So for beginners, this could be things like children's shows or cartoons. They use simpler language and they speak slower. Or you could look for podcasts that are specifically designed for English learners. There are tons of those out there.
And I think it's important to emphasize here that you don't have to force yourself to listen to things that bore you to death, right? You can find content that's actually interesting to you.
Right, absolutely. The more you enjoy the material, the more you're going to stick with it. So if you're into, I don't know, history, find a podcast about history. If you're into cooking, find a cooking show. And then as you progress, you can move on to more challenging stuff like TV series, maybe start with subtitles in English if you need them, documentaries, TED Talks. There are so many options out there.
And if you're at a more advanced level, maybe you try listening to audiobooks or even unscripted interviews where the language is more natural and spontaneous.
Okay, so you've got your listening material. Step 2 is where we introduce this technique called shadowing. Have you ever tried shadowing before?
Oh yeah, shadowing is fantastic. It's a really powerful way to train both your ear and your pronunciation at the same time.
So how do you actually do it? Basically, you listen to a short segment of audio, maybe just a sentence or two, and then you immediately try to repeat it exactly as you heard it, copying the speaker's pronunciation, their intonation, even their rhythm. It's like you're trying to become their vocal shadow.
And what's great about shadowing is that it forces you to pay attention to the nuances of spoken English, the way native speakers stress certain syllables, the way their voice rises and falls. Those are the things that really make your English sound more natural.
Okay, so step 3 is where you take it a little bit further. Now you're going to try to speak what you hear, but without the script. So you listen to a short segment, maybe 10 or 20 seconds, do some shadowing to get it in your ear, and then you try to repeat it from memory. And the key here is not to worry too much about being perfect. It's more about getting your mouth moving, getting comfortable with producing those sounds.
Right. This is where you start to transition from just passively hearing the language to actively producing it yourself. And it's okay if you make mistakes, just rewind and try again. It's all part of the process. And as you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the length of the segments you're repeating.
All right, step 4 involves a tool that you probably already have in your pocket, your phone. This is where you start recording yourself speaking English. It can feel a little weird at first, but it's so helpful for self-assessment. So record yourself repeating a segment you've been working on, and then listen back to it. Compare your pronunciation to the original audio. How's your pace? Are you stressing the right words? It's like holding up a mirror to your spoken English.
That self-assessment piece is so important because we don't always hear ourselves accurately when we're speaking. By recording yourself, you can listen more objectively and identify areas where you can improve.
And then the final step, step 5, is all about building up to actual conversations. So once you've gotten some good practice with shadowing and repeating, the goal is to start using what you've learned in more interactive situations. Now, this doesn't have to mean jumping into a conversation with a native speaker right away. You can start by talking to yourself in English. Just narrate your day, describe what you're doing, have imaginary conversations in your head. It might sound silly, but it really helps.
And as you get more comfortable, you can start looking for opportunities to practice with others. There are lots of language exchange apps out there, like Tandem or HelloTalk, where you can connect with people who are learning English and want to practice.
Right, and even just chatting with an AI chatbot in English can be good practice. The key is to start using the language in a more spontaneous way, to move beyond just rote repetition.
Exactly. It's about taking those skills you've been honing and applying them in a more dynamic and interactive setting. That's how you really start to internalize the language and make it your own.
Okay, so those are the 5 steps. But to make this even more practical for you, we've also come across some really fun and engaging activities that you can use to put this combined listening and speaking approach into practice.
These activities are a great way to add some variety to your practice and keep things interesting. And the best part is, you can tailor them to your own interests and preferences.
All right, so the first one is called Movie Magic. And this one is pretty simple. Pick a short scene from an English language movie or TV show that you like. And I would say start with something you've already seen before so you know the general plot, and then watch it a few times. First, maybe with subtitles in your own language, just to remind yourself what's happening, then watch it with English subtitles. And then finally, try watching it without any subtitles, and pause after each line to repeat what the actors are saying, trying to match their pronunciation and intonation.
And if you're feeling really adventurous, you could even try acting out the scene yourself. That adds a whole new dimension to the practice.
Yeah, it's a fun way to get more immersed in the language and to practice using it in a more expressive way. Okay, activity number 2 is called Podcast Parrot. So for this one, you choose a short segment from an English language podcast. If you're a beginner or intermediate learner, something like the BBC's 6-Minute English is a great option. They have short, clear episodes on a wide range of topics. So you listen to a minute or 2 of the podcast, and then you try shadowing the speaker, repeating each sentence as accurately as you can. And then once you've shadowed it a few times, try to summarize what you heard in your own words without looking at the transcript.
This is a fantastic way to work on both your listening and speaking skills, and it also helps you practice comprehending and summarizing information, which are really important skills for real-life communication.
All right, next up we have Song Sync. Now this one is especially fun for anyone who loves music. Pick an English song that you like, something that you enjoy listening to, and that has relatively clear lyrics. Maybe avoid super fast rap songs or anything too complex at first. So listen to the song a few times to get familiar with it. Then look up the lyrics and try singing along, really focusing on matching the singer's pronunciation, their rhythm, their timing. You could even record yourself singing and then listen back to see how you sound.
This is a great way to make pronunciation practice less tedious and more enjoyable. Music has this amazing ability to help us remember things, so by singing along to English songs, you're not just practicing your pronunciation, you're also absorbing new words and phrases in a fun and memorable way.
Okay, activity number 4 is called Dictation Duo. Now this one's a little more challenging, but it's really effective for fine-tuning your listening skills. So find a short audio clip in English, maybe a news report or a clip from a podcast, something that's a couple of minutes long, and then listen to it carefully and try to write down everything you hear, word for word. And then once you've written it all down, read what you wrote aloud and compare it to the original transcript. See if you made any mistakes. And then read the corrected version out loud a few times to really reinforce those words and phrases.
This activity is great for improving your ability to distinguish individual sounds and words in English, and the act of writing helps to solidify those words and phrases in your memory.
All right, and for those of you who enjoy a bit of role-playing, we have Role-Play Replay. So for this one, you need a video with a dialogue between two or more people. This could be a scene from a movie, a TV show, or even a YouTube video. Choose one of the characters and try to repeat their lines exactly as they say them. Match their intonation, their rhythm, everything. And then, once you've practiced their lines, try to imagine how the other character would respond and improvise your own lines.
This is a really fun way to get more comfortable with using English in a conversational setting. And by improvising, you're challenging yourself to think creatively in English and to come up with your own responses on the spot.
And then finally, we have a super simple activity that you can do anywhere, anytime. It's called Talk to Yourself. And basically all you do is, after you've listened to any English audio, just take a few minutes to talk to yourself out loud about what you heard. Summarize it, explain it, give your opinion on it. Anything goes.
This might seem a little strange at first, but it's incredibly effective for developing fluency. By talking to yourself in English, you're getting comfortable with forming sentences spontaneously without the pressure of having to speak to someone else.
Right, and you can do this literally anywhere, in the shower, while you're cooking dinner, on your commute to work. Just find little pockets of time to practice speaking out loud.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think it's important to acknowledge that learning a new language is not always easy. There are going to be challenges along the way.
Right, and it's normal to feel discouraged sometimes.
Yeah.
But the good news is that most of the challenges that English learners face are totally surmountable. And we've looked at some of the most common ones and some strategies for overcoming them.
So one very common challenge, especially for beginners, is that feeling of, I can't understand everything I hear. And you know what? That's okay. Nobody understands every single word all the time, even native speakers.
Right, and especially if you're listening to more advanced material, it's natural to feel a little lost sometimes. The key is to not get discouraged and to focus on gradual improvement. So start with materials that are at your level. Don't be afraid to use subtitles at first, and focus on understanding the main ideas and the key words rather than getting hung up on every little detail.
And remember, the more you listen, the better you'll get at understanding. It's like a muscle that gets stronger with exercise.
And another common challenge is pronunciation. A lot of learners feel like, my pronunciation feels off. And again, this is totally normal. It takes time and practice to train your mouth to make those English sounds correctly.
Right, and the key here is to be patient with yourself and to keep practicing. Break down words into syllables, use online pronunciation dictionaries to hear how native speakers pronounce those words, and keep shadowing. That will make a big difference over time.
Now, another big hurdle for a lot of people is shyness or fear of speaking. I'm too shy to speak. That's a common feeling. But the advice here is to start small and gradually build up your confidence.
Exactly. Start by talking to yourself in English. Maybe try narrating your day or describing things around you. And as you get more comfortable with that, you can start looking for opportunities to practice with others.
And there are lots of great online resources for finding language exchange partners. Apps like Tandem or HelloTalk connect you with people from all over the world who are learning English and want to practice. And there are also online communities and forums where you can find people to chat with.
And if you're not quite ready for that, remember, even just practicing with an AI chatbot can be helpful. It's all about getting those reps in, getting more comfortable with speaking English out loud.
Okay, another common challenge is forgetting things you've learned. I forget what I learned. It's so frustrating, right? But there are ways to combat this. The key is repetition and active recall.
Exactly. Don't just passively listen to things once and expect it to stick in your brain forever. You need to actively engage with the material. Go back and revisit things you've already listened to. Try to use the new words and phrases you've learned in your own sentences.
And there's some great apps out there that use spaced repetition to help you remember things. Spaced repetition is basically a system that reminds you to review material at specific intervals based on how well you remember it. Apps like Anki are really good for this.
And then, of course, there's the challenge of time. I don't have time. That's probably the most common excuse people give for not learning something new. But the truth is, you don't need hours and hours every day. Even just 10 or 15 minutes of focused practice can make a difference.
Right. It's about finding those little pockets of time in your day and being consistent. You can listen to a podcast while you're commuting to work. You can shadow a short video while you're cooking dinner. You can practice speaking English to yourself while you're getting ready in the morning. It all adds up.
And one last thought on overcoming challenges. Celebrate your progress. No matter how small it might seem, acknowledge the effort you're putting in and the progress you're making. That positive reinforcement will help you stay motivated and keep going.
Now, I know we've thrown a lot of information at you today, but the good news is that there are a ton of amazing resources out there that can help you with this combined listening and speaking approach. These are like your allies in this language learning journey.
Yeah, there are some really great tools and platforms that can make this whole process easier and more fun.
So for listening resources, BBC Learning English is fantastic. They have a website and a YouTube channel with tons of free content for learners at all levels. You can find podcasts, videos, grammar explanations, all sorts of stuff.
And BBC Learning English is known for their clear pronunciation and engaging content. They really make learning English accessible and enjoyable.
Right, and if you have Netflix, that's another great resource. You can watch movies and TV shows with English audio and subtitles, and you can pause and rewind as much as you need to.
And what's great about Netflix is that they have a huge variety of content from all over the world. So you can find something that interests you, whether it's documentaries, comedies, dramas, whatever you're into.
And if you're looking for free audiobooks, LibriVox is a fantastic resource. They have thousands of audiobooks that are recorded by volunteers, so you can listen to classic literature, contemporary novels, anything you can think of.
And LibriVox is a great way to get exposed to different accents and speaking styles. It's like having a whole library of English audio at your fingertips.
Now for speaking practice, your phone's voice memo app is surprisingly useful. It's a simple way to record yourself speaking English and then listen back to it. You can hear how you sound and identify areas where you need to improve.
And there are also some apps that are specifically designed for pronunciation practice. SpeechLing is one that I've heard good things about. They have exercises where you listen to a native speaker pronounce a word or phrase, and then you try to repeat it. And the app gives you feedback on your pronunciation.
And then there are platforms like italki, where you can find online tutors and language exchange partners. So if you want to get some personalized feedback on your speaking, you can book a session with a tutor. Or if you just want to practice chatting with someone in English, you can find a language exchange partner.
And italki is a great way to connect with people from all over the world who are learning English. It's a really supportive community.
And then there are resources that specifically combine listening and speaking practice. Duolingo podcasts are great for this. They have engaging stories with clear narration, and they often build in repetition to help you remember new words and phrases.
And Duolingo podcasts are available on a lot of different podcast platforms, so you can easily incorporate them into your listening routine.
And then there's Pimsleur, which is an audio-based language learning program that uses a method called graduated interval recall. It's kind of similar to spaced repetition, but it also involves actively speaking in response to prompts.
And Pimsleur is known for being very effective, but it is a paid program.
Right. And then finally, there are YouTube channels like English Addict with Mr. Steve and Daily English Conversation. These channels have tons of videos with listening and speaking exercises and dialogues for learners at all levels.
And YouTube is a great resource for finding free content. You can subscribe to these channels and get new videos delivered to you every week.
All right, so now we've talked about the benefits of combining listening and speaking, the steps you can take to do it, some fun activities to try, and tons of helpful resources. But I think it's important to talk about motivation as well, because staying motivated is key to achieving any long-term goal.
Absolutely. Learning a new language takes time and effort, and it's easy to get discouraged sometimes. So it's really important to find ways to stay motivated and keep that momentum going.
So what are some things that you can do to stay motivated? Well, first of all, set small, achievable goals for yourself. Don't try to do too much too soon. Start with something manageable, like listening to one podcast episode a week or shadowing for 10 minutes every day. And then as you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the amount you're doing.
Right. It's about building that habit of regular practice, and it's much easier to stick with it if you're not overwhelming yourself.
And don't forget to celebrate your progress. No matter how small it might seem, every step forward is a victory. Did you finally understand a movie without subtitles? Did you have a conversation with a native speaker and feel like you could actually express yourself? Those are things to be proud of.
Definitely. Take the time to acknowledge your achievements and give yourself credit for the hard work you're putting in.
And choose content that you actually enjoy. If you're forcing yourself to listen to things that bore you, you're not going to stick with it. So find podcasts, TV shows, music, whatever it is that you genuinely enjoy, and use those as your learning materials.
Yeah, make it fun. The more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to keep going.
And you can also track your progress, which can be really motivating. Keep a journal where you write down what you've listened to and spoken each day. Or record short audio snippets of yourself speaking English so you can hear how you're improving over time.
And seeing that progress can be really encouraging, especially on those days when you're feeling a little discouraged.
And finally, connect with other English learners. Find a language exchange partner, join an online community, or just chat with a friend who's also learning English. Sharing your experiences and challenges with others can help you stay motivated and accountable.
It's great to have that support system, to know that you're not alone in this journey.
Now, to really illustrate how effective this combined listening and speaking approach can be, we've come across some inspiring real-life success stories. There's Maria, a Spanish speaker who wanted to improve her English fluency for work. She started shadowing TED Talks for just 15 minutes each day, focusing on topics that genuinely interested her. Within a few months, she felt much more confident in her ability to hold basic conversations with her English-speaking colleagues. And then there's Ahmed, an Arabic speaker who is passionate about English pop music. By regularly singing along to his favorite songs and recording himself, he noticed a significant improvement in his pronunciation and even gained the confidence to join a local English conversation club. These examples really show how consistent practice using this method can lead to tangible results.
And those are just two examples. There are countless stories out there of people who have improved their English skills by combining listening and speaking. So if they can do it, you can too.
And for those of you who are already at an intermediate or advanced level, there are some more advanced techniques that you can explore to take your skills to the next level. For example, you could try debate practice, where you listen to a discussion or an argument and then try to articulate the opposing viewpoint aloud. Or you could try news recaps, where you watch a news segment and then summarize the key points in your own words.
And another great technique for advanced learners is improvisational speaking exercises. You can listen to a short dialogue and then try to expand it with your own ideas and speak more freely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the key takeaway is this. Combining listening with speaking is a really powerful and accessible way to improve your English skills. It encourages you to engage with the language in a more holistic way, to experience it not just as something you read in a textbook, but as a living, breathing thing that you can use to communicate with the world.
Absolutely. And by consistently blending these two essential skills, you are building a solid foundation for confident and effective communication in English.
So as a final thought, I want you to consider this. What aspect of English proficiency are you most excited about improving? Is it understanding movies without subtitles? Is it speaking more fluently in conversations? Is it feeling confident enough to give a presentation in English? Whatever it is, hold that thought in your mind and let it fuel your practice. Because with consistent effort and the right approach, you can achieve your English language goals. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You know, you're here because you are serious about mastering English listening. And I think we both agree that's a really admirable goal.
Absolutely. And you want to do it well, right? You don't want to just sort of dabble. You want to really get good at this.
Exactly. We want to make sure you're efficient with your time. You're seeing progress. And so today we're going to be diving into something that, might surprise you.
It might not be what you expect.
Yeah, as a crucial ingredient for really unlocking that progress. And it's not just about what you listen to,
right,
but about the mindset you bring to the whole process.
It's so important. And, we've been looking at some research in preparation for this deep dive. And one of the things that really stood out to me was a piece in Applied Linguistics Quarterly.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
That was fascinating. It was highlighting how often learners hit plateaus. And then what they tend to do is focus on the resources.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, I need a different podcast. I need a different app.
Right.
But actually, the research suggested that the key thing that helped people break through those plateaus was actually a shift in how they thought about what they were doing.
It's like changing your approach rather than just like the content.
Yeah, exactly.
So over this deep dive, I think it'd be really valuable for us to explore why that attitude is such a powerful tool and to dig into some really practical strategies
I love that
you can start doing today
to
navigate those moments of frustration. And we all have them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone does.
Where you just argue, I'm trying to understand and it's just not clicking.
Yeah.
But also to pinpoint the key mental shifts that can really accelerate your journey. Think of this as building that mental navigation system for the world of spoken English so you don't keep running to those same dead ends.
It's like having a map instead of just kind of wandering around hoping for the best.
Yeah, and the mission here is to really equip you with that robust mental framework.
And this comes out so strongly in language learning. Today, the research in there was saying that a positive and strategic mindset just amplifies the impact of everything else you're doing.
Yeah, all that practice is so much more effective when you've got the right mindset.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's jump into our first kind of key area, which is embracing the learning process.
Okay, love it.
Yeah, it's totally natural.
Yeah.
We all want to see results quickly.
Of course we do.
We want to feel like we're making progress every single day.
Yeah.
But one of the articles that you sent over, which was so insightful, talked about long-term language acquisition and likened it to tending a garden.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think about that analogy?
Well, it's that element of time and consistent effort, right? You can't just like chuck some seeds in the ground and expect them to sprout overnight.
And then yell at them for not growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
No, it needs the right conditions. It needs that regular watering. It needs patience.
Yeah, and sometimes with language learning, it feels like you're putting in all this effort and you're not seeing the results. And then suddenly,
it's like, boom.
it's like, whoa, okay, I can understand this now.
Yeah, you have these periods of like visible growth, and then other times it's like, it's all happening beneath the surface,
Yeah. And you have to trust that it's happening.
Yeah, you got to trust the process.
And I think that's where, in your notes on learner anxieties, you were talking about mistakes and how those can feel like major setbacks.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
And so I think we need to reframe that a little bit, because actually all the language acquisition theories we've been looking at say those moments of misunderstanding are vital signs.
Absolutely.
It's not actually a bad thing. It's a good thing.
It's good. It's like, think of mistakes as your brain highlighting what it needs more practice with.
It's like the little red squiggly line you get under a misspelt word.
It's like a spell checker for your understanding.
I love that.
When you mishear something or you misunderstand a phrase, that's like a big arrow pointing you to like, okay, this is what I need to work on.
Exactly. And so if we can stop thinking of those as like, oh no, I've done something wrong, and think of them as, oh, this is really helpful information.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And then to keep that motivation strong, to keep yourself going, it's so important to acknowledge those small wins.
Yes.
Like maybe you finally understood a phrase you've heard a million times before, or you picked up a new word just from the context and you didn't even have to look it up.
Yeah, those little victories, those are so important.
Give yourself credit for those moments.
And you know what? The research on learning psychology shows that those small victories, they release dopamine in the brain, which reinforces those positive learning behaviors.
So it actually, it's good for your brain.
It's good for your brain. To give yourself credit.
To celebrate those wins.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, I'm doing this.
It also provides evidence that you are moving forward, even if it doesn't feel like it all the time.
Yeah, it can feel really incremental, can't it?
Yeah, it can feel very slow sometimes.
But you're getting there. Yeah. So to help with that, we've got a really practical tip for you.
Okay.
And this was inspired by a blog that you sent me of a really successful language learner.
Oh, yeah, that was really interesting.
And it was all about keeping a listening journal.
That's so simple, but so effective.
And they were saying how reviewing that journal can really shift your perspective.
I think a lot of people, when they think about keeping a journal, they think, oh, it's just going to be lists of vocabulary, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's more about like how you felt when you were listening, what you understood, what you didn't understand.
It's the whole experience.
Exactly. And then when you go back and look at it, like imagine looking back at entries from like 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
You'll probably be so surprised by how far you've come.
It really shows you how much you've absorbed without even realizing it sometimes.
And it's visual, right? So you're actually seeing it black and white.
And that visual confirmation can be so motivating, especially when you're in those phases where you feel like you've plateaued or you're not making progress.
Exactly, because sometimes you need that reminder.
You need to see it.
Yeah, so keep a listening journal. All right, let's move on to our next concept, which I think came up in several of the articles you shared, which is developing a growth mindset.
Okay.
Now, you might have heard this term before.
Yeah. It's a bit of a buzzword, isn't it?
It is a bit of a buzzword, but it has really powerful implications when you're learning a language.
Absolutely.
So can you just give us a really quick definition?
Sure. So basically, a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities and intelligence aren't fixed.
Like you're not just born with a certain amount of intelligence and that's it. How do you actually grow it?
You can develop it through effort and perseverance, and this is really beautifully illustrated in the work of Carol Dweck.
Right.
And the opposite of that is a fixed mindset, which is where you believe your talents are kind of innate and you can't really change them.
Like I'm just not a language person.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, and it's so limiting.
So when it comes to English listening, How do you think this growth mindset can actually help?
Well, those challenging audio clips, right? The conversations that feel too fast or too complex, they suddenly stop being these insurmountable barriers.
Because you're not thinking, oh, I'm just not good at this.
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay,
This is a challenge. I can work on this.
I can rise to this challenge.
I can rise to it.
Exactly.
And it turns into an opportunity rather than a threat.
Yeah, and the more effort you put in, the more you actively listen.
Mm.
You know, you put on those English podcasts in the background, you have those conversations.
The more you immerse yourself,
Yeah, the more your comprehension is going to improve naturally.
it's a direct result of your dedication.
It's like a muscle, right?
Absolutely.
The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And the more you believe in your ability to do that, the more likely you are to actually put in the effort.
So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Kind of, yeah. You start believing you can do it, and then you actually start doing it.
I love that. So to help with that, we've got another one of our actionable tips for you.
I'm ready.
And this one is all about developing a personal mantra.
Oh, I love mantras.
Me too. It's like a little piece of encouragement that you tell yourself when you're finding things tough.
Yes.
So one of the articles you shared suggested this one. Whenever you feel that frustration creeping in, just remind yourself, I may not understand this yet, but with more listening, I will.
It's such a good one because it shifts your focus from that feeling of inadequacy, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough right now, to a belief in future improvement.
Right. It's not that you'll never get there. It's just that you're not there yet.
Exactly. And cognitive behavioral studies show that this kind of self-talk can actually change your brain.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is.
Okay, so let's move on to something else that came up a lot in your notes, which is feeling overwhelmed by not understanding every single word.
Yes, this is huge.
And I think this is something that probably a lot of learners struggle with.
Yeah, because you feel like you have to understand everything perfectly in order to be fluent.
And when you're listening to natural English spoken at native speed, that's just not realistic.
No native speaker even understands every single word all the time.
Exactly.
It depends on the context, the accent, all sorts of things.
So we need to learn to be okay with not understanding everything.
Yes, tolerance for ambiguity. That's the key phrase.
Yes, I love that.
And so instead of getting stuck on the words you don't recognize, we need to shift our focus to the overall meaning.
Like, what's the gist of what they're saying?
Exactly. You don't need 100% comprehension to understand the core message.
It's like if you watch the news, you don't have to remember every single statistic they give you.
No.
You just need to know, like, what's the overall story?
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
And what's fascinating is that our brains are actually really good at filling in gaps.
Really?
Based on context and our prior knowledge.
So we do it all the time without even realizing it.
Yeah, we're already doing it in our native languages.
So we just need to apply that to English listening.
Exactly. And when you become comfortable with that degree of uncertainty, you start to rely more on those contextual clues.
It's like solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? You might have a few pieces missing, but you can still see the picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so building on that, there's another point that came up in a lot of the language guides you send over, which is to avoid mentally translating every single word.
Oh, this is a big one.
Why is that such a bad habit?
Well, for one thing, it's exhausting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's mentally draining, but it also really slows down your listening comprehension.
Because you're constantly trying to do two things at once.
Yeah, you're trying to listen and translate at the same time, so you end up lagging behind the speaker.
It's like you're watching a movie, but you've got this voiceover that's constantly like at half a second behind.
Exactly. You're not fully present in the experience.
So how do we break that habit? What's the tip?
So try this. Listen to a short piece of English audio, maybe a news clip or a podcast excerpt, and then try to summarize the main points aloud in English without going back and looking up every word.
That's a great exercise.
It forces you to focus on the big picture and to trust your ability to understand, even with some gaps.
Yeah, and I bet you'll be surprised by how much you actually understand.
You probably understand more than you think you do.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about consistency versus intensity.
Okay.
I think there's a common misconception that you need these big, long listening sessions to really improve.
Yeah, like once a week I'm going to do 3 hours of English listening.
And then do nothing for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and that's going to be enough.
And all the research actually points to the opposite.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
much better to have regular, even brief exposure.
So like 10, 15 minutes every day
Yeah.
is more effective than the 3-hour session once a week.
And it's all about building that habit, right? Making
Yeah.
it part of your routine.
Yeah, so it's not this big, overwhelming thing that you have to like schedule into your week.
It's just like brushing your teeth. You just do it.
It becomes a natural part of your day.
Exactly. And those shorter sessions also help to prevent burnout.
Which I think we've all experienced, right? When
Right.
you try and do too much at once,
It's overwhelming.
you just get tired and you give up.
And then you end up not doing it at all.
Exactly. So what's our tip for this one?
So set a realistic daily listening goal, even if it's just 10 minutes, and find resources that fit into your schedule.
Like what kind of things?
Well, you could listen to a podcast on your commute.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Or you could watch a short English news segment while you have breakfast. Or you could use a language learning app for a few minutes before bed.
There are so many options now.
So many. It's all about finding what works for you.
Okay, so let's talk about active versus passive listening.
Okay.
Now, these are two different approaches, but they're both really important.
And they work together really well.
So can you break down the difference for us?
Sure. So active listening is where you're really engaging with the audio. You're paying attention. You're taking notes. Maybe you're pausing to look up words. You're really trying to understand everything.
It's like a workout for your listening muscles.
Exactly.
Passive listening, on the other hand, is more about having English playing in the background while you're doing something else.
So maybe you're doing the dishes or going for a walk or even working.
And you're not necessarily trying to understand every word. You're just kind of absorbing it.
It's creating that immersion environment.
Right. And research shows that both of these approaches are beneficial.
Yeah, they complement each other really well.
So you're not saying that one is better than the other.
No, definitely not.
It's about finding a balance.
Exactly.
So what's the tip here?
Try to dedicate at least 10 minutes each day to active listening.
Okay.
So choose a specific piece of audio and really focus on it, and then supplement that with passive listening whenever you can throughout the day.
So you're getting that focused practice, but you're also getting that regular exposure.
Yeah, and that combination is really powerful.
Okay, let's move on to choosing the right listening material,
Oh.
because this can make a huge difference in how much you enjoy the process and how much progress you make.
It's massive.
And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is choosing content that's too difficult.
Yeah, or too easy.
Yeah,
It's got to be just right.
it's got to be the Goldilocks zone.
Exactly. It needs to be slightly challenging, but still largely understandable.
And this is where that idea of comprehensible input comes in.
Yes.
Which is basically saying that we learn best when we understand most of what we're hearing, but there are still a few things that challenge us.
And it's about finding that sweet spot, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm getting this, but I'm also learning new things.
And I think it's also important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach here.
Yeah. What works for one person might not work for another.
So don't be afraid to experiment and find what you enjoy.
Absolutely.
And there are so many options out there now, right? Like you've got podcasts, you've got audiobooks, you've got interviews, you've got movies, you've got TV shows.
But don't forget about music.
Oh yeah, music is a great one.
It's so good for learning rhythm and intonation.
And it's fun.
And it's enjoyable. Exactly.
So what's our actionable tip for this one?
Okay, so find an English language podcast that you're genuinely interested in.
Okay.
Start with episodes that offer transcripts.
So you can follow along.
Yeah, and then as you get more confident, you can start listening without the transcripts.
So it's about gradually increasing the challenge.
Yeah, and the most important thing is to find something that you actually enjoy listening to.
Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it.
Exactly. Motivation is everything.
Okay, let's move on to some more active techniques that you can use to improve your listening. And this is where imitation and shadowing come in.
Okay.
Now, these are two techniques that have been shown to be really effective in improving both your listening and your speaking skills.
Yeah, they're amazing.
So can you explain how they work?
Sure. So imitation is basically just trying to copy the way a native speaker speaks.
So like their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm.
Everything.
And shadowing is taking that one step further.
Yeah. So with shadowing, you're listening to a piece of audio and you're trying to repeat what the speaker is saying almost simultaneously.
Like your voice is shadowing theirs.
Exactly.
And what's so great about these techniques is that they really make you pay attention to your details.
Yeah, you start to notice things that you wouldn't normally notice.
Like how words are stressed.
The intonation, the rhythm.
All the things that native speakers do naturally, but that we often don't even think about.
And when you start to pay attention to those things, your comprehension improves.
Because you're actually hearing the language in a different way.
Yeah, you're not just hearing the words, you're hearing the music of the language.
And that's so important for understanding meaning.
It really is.
So what's our tip for this one?
Choose a short video or audio clip of a native speaker.
Okay.
Ideally one where you can see their mouth movements.
So you can see how they're forming the sounds.
Exactly. And then try to imitate their pronunciation and rhythm as closely as you can.
And if you want to try shadowing, just repeat what they're saying a split second after they say it.
It can feel a bit strange at first, but it's really effective.
Okay, so let's talk about something that I think is really important for all English learners, which is staying motivated and enjoying the process.
Yes, this is crucial.
Because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it.
Exactly.
So what are your tips for making sure that English listening doesn't feel like a chore?
Well, first of all, choose content that you're genuinely interested in.
Right, don't feel like you have to listen to boring stuff just because you think it's good for you.
Exactly.
If you're passionate about cooking, find a podcast about cooking.
Yes, or if you love movies, watch movies with English subtitles.
And set realistic goals for yourself.
Don't try to do too much too soon.
Yeah, like don't expect to understand everything perfectly after a week.
Just focus on making small improvements each day.
And celebrate those improvements.
Yes, acknowledge your successes no matter how small.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
Exactly.
And reward yourself.
Yeah, why not?
So if you meet your listening goal for the week, treat yourself to something nice.
It's a great way to stay motivated.
Okay, so let's talk about listening anxiety, because I think this is something that a lot of learners experience.
Yeah, it's really common.
And it can be really debilitating.
It can completely block your ability to learn.
So what can we do to overcome it?
Well, the first thing is to just acknowledge that it's normal.
Right, it's okay to feel anxious.
It doesn't mean you're not good at languages.
It just means you're human.
Exactly.
And then try to remind yourself that you don't have to understand everything.
Even native speakers don't understand everything.
Especially not in challenging situations.
Yeah, like if you're listening to a lecture on a really complex topic, you're probably not going to understand every single word.
And that's okay.
It's okay, just focus on getting the gist.
And if you feel yourself getting overwhelmed,
take a break.
Yeah, step away from the audio for a few minutes.
Do some deep breathing.
Oh yeah, deep breathing is so good for calming down.
It really is. It sends a signal to your body that everything's okay.
And then when you're ready, come back to the audio and try again.
And remember to be patient with yourself.
This is a journey, not a race.
Exactly.
Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about tracking your progress and being adaptable.
Okay.
Now, language learning is not linear.
No, it's very messy.
There are going to be ups and downs.
You're going to have good days and bad days.
And that's totally normal.
It's part of the process.
So it's important to track your progress so you can see how far you've come.
Yeah, and so you can celebrate those wins.
And also, so you can identify areas where you need to focus more attention.
Exactly.
And if something's not working,
change it up.
yeah, don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques and resources.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right, you can talk to a teacher, you can talk to a language partner, you could even ask for advice online.
There are so many people who want to help you succeed.
Yeah, the language learning community is amazing.
It really is.
So our final tip for you today is to record yourself summarizing an audio clip at different stages of your learning journey.
Oh, that's a good one.
So maybe record yourself today and then record yourself again in a month and then again in 6 months.
And listen back to those recordings.
And you'll be able to hear the progress you've made.
It's a really concrete way to see how far you've come.
And it can be really motivating.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to wrap things up, remember that the right mindset is essential for successful English listening.
It's not just about the time you put in, it's about how you approach that time.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but I hope the key takeaway is that you have the power to change your mindset.
And that changing your mindset can have a profound impact on your learning.
So as you continue your English language journey, I want you to think about which of these mindset shifts resonates most with you.
Which one are you going to try in your next listening session?
That's a great question to ask yourself.
And I'd also encourage you to think about what you're currently doing.
Yeah, are there any habits that you need to break?
Or any beliefs that are holding you back.
Because once you identify those things, you can start to make changes.
And you can start to see real progress.
So keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
You've got this.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
Bye for now.